Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says his forces have liberated 6,000 square kilometres of the country from Russian occupation since the start of this month. Ukraine's also claiming significant gains in the southern region of Kherson. Moscow concedes it has lost territory but has dismissed any suggestion of negotiations, instead retaliating with airstrikes and artillery fire.
The front line has shifted further away, but Kharkiv is still in Russia's sights. Airstrikes hit the city on Monday, sparking fires, killing at least one person and cutting power and public services. Retaliation for Russia's battlefield losses, says President Volodymyr Zelenskyy.
On the one hand, this is a sign of the desperation of those who contrived this war. This is how they react to the defeat of Russian forces in the Kharkiv region. They can't do anything to our heroes on the battlefield, and that's why Russia is directing its vile strikes against civilian infrastructure.
Volunteers have rushed to the retaken villages to deliver supplies to residents traumatized by months under occupation.
There was shooting, bombing and shelling day after day. We had no electricity and no water. We had almost no food. Now we've finally been liberated, but the world has to know what happened here.
In the city of Izium, residents say Russian forces beat a hasty retreat, burning buildings as they fled.
Yesterday morning there were Russians. This morning already Ukrainians. It's not enough to say I'm happy. I just don't have enough words to express myself.
We met them with tears in our eyes. We've been waiting for them. We couldn't imagine that they would have come so unexpectedly. We've been waiting for them for almost half a year, and we're so happy.
The cleanup has just begun. Ukrainian demining units say they're clearing explosives from towns near the Russian border, a task which could take weeks or months.
At these positions, we found what you see here, anti-tank mines and anti-personnel mines that are forbidden by the International Convention. Those mines were found and cleared by our unit.
As Ukrainian forces drive deeper, Russia's losses litter the landscape, and the scale of the counter-offensive becomes clear.
And we can join DW correspondent Nick Connolly in the Ukrainian capital. Welcome, Nick. We have some Western military analysts saying that Russian forces have abandoned the Kharkiv region. Is Ukraine ready to declare victory in its northeast?
Well, I think that definitely is the mood here in Kiev. The last few days basically been kind of shocked amazement at the speed of this. I think even lots of kind of analysts close to the government here couldn't quite imagine this happening in this time frame. There are some Russian troops in the kind of far eastern part of Kharkiv Oblast, as we understand, still hanging on, but for the most part, this is now all firmly under Ukrainian control, and it seemed like the Russians didn't put up much of a fight, but just dumped everything they had, dumped lots of high-tech kit, even with the instruction manuals left, didn't even bother to destroy it, let alone take it with them, and ran for the Russian border. It's important to remember, though, that Kharkiv, along with this region, is directly on the border with Russia. So, should Russia collect some more resources, rebuild its forces, that danger is there, all the time. And people in the city of Kharkiv are very well aware that, they're 45 kilometers away from the border. So missile attacks, even kind of long-distance artillery, is all still within range.
Right. And how long will it be, do you think, for people in liberated areas to get back to some sort of normality?
Well, lots of these places have been without electricity or even without mobile phone connection for months now. So that's part of the reason why we've had such a trouble trying to kind of work out what's going on the ground before journalists were able to go there. People even here in Kiev with relatives there occasionally maybe getting once every couple of weeks a message after their relatives would have kind of driven somewhere where some reception was still available. It seems like the Ukrainian authorities are putting those kind of basic services in pretty quickly. I think the bigger question is going to be how Ukraine's government deals with people who collaborated with Russia, how divisive those kind of judicial proceedings against these people are going to be. We've heard that lots of people who got jobs in the Russian occupation administration have headed for the Russian border, have tried to leave, but that definitely is a sense that this is potentially something that's going to be divisive and difficult in those communities.
And just turning our attention to the Ukrainian counter-offensive in the south, how difficult is that making life for Russian forces?
Well, they're really out on a limb there because they're basically on the western bank of the Dnipro River, very wide river. Their kind of backup, their logistics have been broken by those Ukrainian attacks on the bridges. So they're basically, as we understand, running out of ammunition now. And there were reports in Ukrainian media yesterday about attempts to maybe go into kind of Ukrainian, to kind of offer themselves up to become prisoners of war en masse, to give up. That could be psychological warfare here from the Ukrainian side, but it does seem like Russia is not able to kind of rebuild those bridges, rebuild pontoons and supply that garrison there. So it does seem that, the days of those Russian forces there are definitely numbered, and the Ukrainian tactic of cutting off those supplies has been pretty effective.
OK, thank you for that, Nick. Nick Connolly in Kyiv.